If your bell rang or door knocked, what would you say? Good morning.
Yes, hi, Nick. Good morning. I would say to them that at this point in time, they need to get behind Sir Keir, and I'm going to tell you why.
Yes, please.
From first of all, in my opinion, I think he's actually a decent human being. Okay, and from what I've seen in terms of his intent, he wants to govern. As opposed to, where we've got with other political options at the moment, none that I can see are actually ready to put in the hard yards. What he's trying to solve the problems. He's putting in the hard yards. He's doing the trips to China. He's doing the trips to India. He's trying to negotiate all of these deals. Now, hang on a second.
14 U-turns, mate.
Look, all of this is true. I would say to them that we are going to hold them to account. So they come to the door, tell them what you want. We want these issues in the NHS fixed. We want the boats crossing sorted out. We want the high streets back up and running. We want the business rates reduced. And I understand all this. Other options at the moment are not ready to govern. Mr. Nigel Farage is not willing to do the hard yards in terms of governing. Kemi Badenoch and the Conservatives are still far too tainted. They haven't got their acts together. I think at this point in time, we need to work with Sir Keir. Now, the other thing that we haven't thought of...
There were reports of open plotting in the tea rooms on Wednesday among Labour MPs, George. Presumably that makes you furious, that you would say to them, get back to work and cut him a break.
So here's the other thing that we haven't considered. We've got a very big gorilla in the White House who's causing chaos globally. Mm-hmm. And I know that the issue with Mr. Mandelson and all of that is highly upsetting. Assuming that there was some pressure, and I don't know if there was or wasn't, to have him with Donald Trump, and maybe Sir Keir looked at this lot and said, well, I think this is what I need to do. If it was an error in judgment, I'm going to take him at face value that he apologised yesterday and he made an error in judgment.
But doesn't that speak to him being incompetent, lastly, that he took him at face value? He's a barrister, George.
Well, at this point...
Not a journalist like Boris Johnson.
Again, at this point in time, I think until someone else comes that shows better credentials, better willingness,
But why are Labour doing so badly in the polls, lastly?
Well, everyone's got opinions, I guess.
All right. Everyone's got opinions, everyone's got views, and George, I'm grateful for yours. We'll have more on that.
Debbie in the Isle of Wight, or on the Isle of Wight, is probably more accurate, isn't it, Debbie?
Yes, yes it is. My feeling is that after Boris Johnson, personally, many people were reassured by Keir Starmer's solid dependability. He seemed to be calm, if you like.
We were, or a lot of people were quite happy with a kind of dull, straightforward man.
Yeah. And then, I've been told to stick to Keir Starmer. I personally feel that Rachel Reeves has got quite a lot to do with, her decisions, obviously bounded back to him, and these are the ones that people remember. I feel that if Keir Starmer could be moved sideways to Foreign Secretary, I think he would be good in that sort of a role, because he obviously can talk to people. He's got a clear mind and he can think it through. And what he hasn't got is what people demand these days, which is instant. So somebody like Angela Rayner, who I happen to like very much, Angela Rayner or West, they appeal to people much quicker than Keir Starmer does.
Do you think they're more of the era that we're actually living in than the other people that you mentioned?
Yeah, I think so, probably. And that was all, really. I just feel that he's perhaps not particularly good as a Prime Minister, but I think he's a sound and dependable and straightforward man, and we need them above all now.
What do you think will happen?
I don't know. I mean, I think the world is such a cesspit now, isn't it? Says she from her 78 years old. But it really is.
Well, it can feel like that, but I don't think
he is good. I don't think he's a bad man, and I don't. People I was listening to James O'Brien and saying, he's broken all these rules and everything. How can you not break rules when in a world with Trump, with a world with Gaza? The world is such a moving rate all the time. You can't. How can anybody hold him exactly? So, I don't think he's doing a brilliant job, but I think because he's in perhaps the wrong job. That's all.
That's interesting, Thank you. Well, I think it's an interesting observation. Thank you very much, Debbie. Debbie in the Isle of Wight. Aidan in Cairn in Wiltshire. Hello, Aidan.
Hi there. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks. Yeah.
Good. What I was saying is, I think Starmer picked Mandelson because he would be perfect for working in the circles that Trump moves in. So from that point of view, you could almost say it was a very astute move.
So appointed because of his links, not in spite of his links.
Because of his links, not despite, So, these are people that Mandelson's probably very familiar with and comfortable talking to and so on. I think what Starmer missed was the fact that he also addended to that sort of CV that Mandelson was working in the interests of Great Britain. Whereas what's coming up is that Mandelson was not working in the interests of Great Britain. He was working in the interests of Peter Mandelson.
Do you regard him as a spy or a traitor?
I do. I think it's if it's not intentional traitoring, it's traitor by vanity.
It's dangerous folly or vanity, isn't it? If it's not intentional, I think it's intentional though. I think you don't.
He was looking to enrich himself, and
it's like people who have affairs and say, "Oh, it just happened," and you just say, "No, it didn't." Did brushing your teeth this morning just happen? No. Did brushing your hair this morning just happen? No. These things don't just happen, do they?
No, absolutely.
You have to do things for things to happen.
Yeah, he was looking out for his own interests. And, they call him the Prince of Darkness, not for no reason, but he's able to manipulate people to keep him in power. The two comebacks so far from being sacked and stuff shows that he is an arch manipulator.
And why this moment and not other moments for Keir Starmer? I mean, that I do think not enough has been made of what happened in Parliament. Was it yesterday, day before yesterday? What happened there was, it was the day before, wasn't it? Was just, you could feel it draining his authority.
Well, yeah, you could. But again, I'm going to go back to Lewis Goodall, who's done some good writing on this stuff. It's not as if no one knew about Peter Mandelson. It's no surprise. So that the faux outrage of some people in Parliament and sort of in the media and so on is just a bit.
But knowing somebody retrospectively did X, Y, and Z isn't quite the same as knowing that they actively maintained a friendship at a deep level with Epstein and actively was working against the interests of your own country. They're different things to know, aren't they?
They are, yeah. And I think really what Starmer is facing now, or his shock, whether it's true or not, is the fact that he didn't know that Mandelson was working against GB's interests. And I think that's the thing that, because, really and truly, if you look at it, right, as soon as you say to someone, right, this bloke is friends with Jeffrey Epstein, who's been committed for 6, that should be it. That should be sort of, right, no, he's not getting on any sort of responsible role in my government or anything like that. It should have been. But because you've got the context of Trump there, it taints things and it makes things a little bit more difficult because Britain's relationship with the US is important. So who's the best person to be the diplomat over there doing it? For the rest of us, it's repugnant. But for Keir Starmer, it's a political sort of gamble.
Yeah, because a diplomat isn't really meant to have a personality, are they? If you see what I mean.
No.
In private they can, of course. But they're not really meant to have a dominant personality in the story, are they? And I wonder whether because the very dominant personality of Donald Trump, there was a judgment that this diplomat needed a, quotes, personality.
Yeah, I think you're dealing with a different sort of world leader in Donald Trump. I think everyone knows that. So, yeah, maybe it needs a different approach. But, you're weighing that up against bringing in someone who is probably not the nicest of people.
Do you think Keir Starmer's sort of antipathy towards Westminster intrigue, doesn't spend a great deal of time hobnobbing with MPs in the bars and cafes when perhaps that might serve him from time to time to do that's part of this, that when the chips were really down, his MPs have not stepped forward, have they?
No, they haven't. No, that's true. And I think he takes he's a famous delegator, so I think he's taking lots of advice from people around him, but not actually getting in the mix himself. That's what it seems like to me. That's purely speculation.
Thank you very much indeed.